Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce presents the Bowie Business Journal, a program designed to keep our community informed about important business and economic issues.
Hello and welcome to our first edition in 2015 of the Bowie Business Journal. I'm your host, David Emanuel, Executive Director of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. And with me in the studio today is Stan Rodenhauser from Freeway Airport. He's the owner of Freeway Airport. And it's great to have you in the studio today, especially on an icy, snowy, extra snowy day that no one really predicted today. So not a day to really be out on the roads, but I'm glad we're here filming and in the studio. So first, Stan, I want to ask you, how did you get into flight, or how did you?
David, I actually grew up with it.
Okay.
My dad was the youngest of seven kids, and he was the guy that did everything, and he flew, rode motorcycles, and all kinds of stuff. But he started flying in the late 30s. And just continued, and then of course I grew up with it and just fell in love with it, and I started flying with my dad just when I was a little kid. We used to just to tell you a little bit of background, we had some relatives in far Rockaway Beach on my mother's side, and my dad would fly my brother and I up there and land at this small airport that's no longer there, hadn't been there for a long time, and drop us off, and we'd walk about 6 blocks to our relatives and spend about a week there at the ocean, and he'd fly back and pick us up and take us. So I just grew up, and it was ingrained in me. Wow. I just loved it.
So you were how old the first time you were in a plane then?
Probably that I can remember, I was probably 5 or 6 years old.
And it was more fun rather than nervousness and anxiousness?
Oh yes. Yeah. It was fun.
So, yeah. And you knew at that moment you not only loved flying, but you wanted to fly the plane?
Yes, absolutely. Knew that I wanted to do it. And my brother was 5 years older than I, so I had him to always look up to, and he was a pilot and flew, and but I just loved it. So I started flying with my dad, sitting in the left seat, and he would do some. My dad was not an instructor, but he would teach me how to take off and land and navigate and everything, and. You had to be 16 years old before you could solo, and my birthday's in January, and I said, I just need to solo on my birthday.
Right.
It's a big thing. And luckily, it was a clear day. It was good. I came home from school and got with the instructor and soloed on my birthday.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic, yes.
So for your 16th birthday, you got
on my
to do
16th
it.
birthday.
That was just what, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, 20 years ago. Yes.
That's great.
Plus maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, all right.
And then of course the next day I went and got my driver's license.
But who flies and then gets to drive? That's terrific. That's wonderful.
So it was great, and so I just grew up with it and started flying, and. My dad, the airport just kind of started by like accident because of owning the property there. You know, I grew up on a tobacco farm. We raised tobacco, and my dad had his airplane there and some runways and stuff, and people would fly over and see that there's a runway and this and that, and they land and say, hey, can I keep my airplane here?
For those who don't know exactly where it is, it's around Church Road, but
it's right
when you're driving down 50 to see planes going in. But talk a little bit about the location for people.
Yeah, it's right at the corner of Church Road and Route 50. An interesting piece of information is that the eastbound lane of Route 50 used to be our east-west runway. It was actually the east-west runway. Yes, and when they came in and put Route 50 down, they took took the runway, but they actually moved it south a little bit further, so we still had an east-west runway.
I love local trivia. I like that. That's really,
that is some trivia. Yeah.
How did it then come about? Was the airport then, backing up a little bit, like you were saying, was already there, or you kind of fell in?
Well, it was already there. My dad actually got aviation gas, Esso. It was Esso gas back in and I got licensed in 1947.
Wow.
So that's when kind of everything started, and like I said, my brother kind of really got involved in it. My brother was a Navy pilot, and he flew the dirigibles out of Elizabeth City.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then of course I grew up, and then I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical Institute in Miami, but at the time that I went there, it was not an accredited four-year university. So I did some flying there and got my aircraft mechanics license and everything at Embry-Riddle. But I went to the University of Miami and got my degree and everything from there.
Fantastic.
And then I came back and just really started, making it a full-time job and a business and
So we're talking how many years then now?
I got probably, for me, over 45 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. What do you attribute that to for an airport, a local small airport, to stay open that long? Obviously the family business and just the people.
Yeah, it's a family business, and it's it goes to the old school customer service.
Exactly.
It's and I have some employees. My general manager has been with me since he was like 15 years old, and so he's having a birthday tomorrow, and I probably shouldn't say his age, but it's he's been with us for over 45 years.
That's wonderful. That is absolutely great.
And so we have a lot of long-term employees, and it's just good. But I stress, I'm from the old school. And still am,
Old school is great. I'm with you on that. Yep.
I do my email, and that's about it.
Excellent.
I don't do the Facebook and stuff like that.
The Facebook and the Twitter, right?
And the Twitter and stuff.
The interwebs, like people say. I love it. Yeah.
It takes too much of my valuable time. I'd rather spend that with my customers and making phone calls and just seeing how they're doing and
that's
everything.
Great. So have you had families come back? Obviously, your employees are that way, but customers too that come ahead.
Customers that have come in. I mean, I love telling this one story. Way back in the probably the late '60s or early '70s, I can't remember. I had this young lady walk in one Saturday, and I was on duty working the desk, and she came in with her father, and she said, "I want to learn how to fly." And so she started taking flying lessons. Next thing I know, her father started taking flying lessons and everything. And she's now captain for United Airlines.
How wonderful.
But it was just so neat. I mean, she knew that probably at 14 years old what she wanted to do.
That's great.
I want to fly. And
that's what obviously still gives you the joy, is seeing the people come in.
Seeing the people. And just a lot of times, if I'm flying and stuff and I'm talking to a center or something, and they'll say, "Hey Stan, this is such and such. Remember, I worked for you so many years ago, And now they're a controller, and every now and then, if I fly commercially, I will meet up with one of my old pilots, flight instructors that's now flying for the airlines.
That's
and
terrific.
stuff.
That's
so
terrific.
it really is terrific.
So and Freeway is one of the few around now, right? Like I grew up in the southern end of Prince George's County, and I know Hyde Field is down that way. We've got Freeway. Are there others? Or Freeway?
Yes, we do. We have, well, of course, we have Freeway. And College Park.
Right, and College Park, of course.
College Park is an institution.
Right,
it will
that's
be
right.
There,
that's its.
Be there forever.
That's right.
Yes,
that's exactly.
And then we have Clinton, Hyde Field, and then we have. I remember it as Rose Valley, but it was close to Hyde Field.
Okay.
And, so we have that, and then there's 4 airports in Prince George's County, And
which is interesting. That's
very interesting and stuff. Yeah.
Do you feel that more and more people are getting into, flying these days? Has it kind of been the same over the years? Was there that time, obviously, when we go back to September 11th, where people you probably thought would never want to fly again? Did you go through? Are there periods where people are either scared to get up in the air or scared to fly? Or
actually, talking about 9/11, that was pure hell for us. We were closed for 103 days, and it was just like we were, anybody that flew a light airplane was a criminal or whatever, and it was really bad. And backing it up just a little bit before 9/11, we had Hani Hanjour, who actually flew into the Pentagon, out and one of his buddies taking lessons out there.
It's terrifying, right?
And one of our flight instructors, a woman, was ex-Marine, and she came to our chief pilot and said, "There's something wrong here. I don't know what it is, but all they want to do is fly and get as close as they can to Washington, D.C. and everything." So she refused to fly with them any longer. And then one of the other instructors for them would say the same thing. And then probably 2 weeks before 9/11, our chief pilot said, we don't want you here any longer.
Right.
And so that was it.
Wow.
But everybody, the Secret Service, the FBI, everybody kind of knew who they were and had pictures of them. But us out in the field, in the real world, didn't know anything about that.
Absolutely incredible. And
yeah,
for you,
it was incredible.
For you personally, Stan, like being, a flight, an aviator all your life, basically, were you suddenly nervous, or were you always like, no, we're going to get back up in a plane, or how were you?
No, there was actually no nervousness and stuff on my part or anybody's.
Or anybody, yeah, I was going to say the employees or the people, right?
Yeah, or customers or anything, because it really wasn't anything to do with the general aviation or airplanes being unsafe or anything like that, and everything. But we, because of that, we have this 30-mile ring around the FSRZ around Washington, D.C. And like now, if you want to penetrate it, you've got to file a flight plan, and then you got to get a discrete squawk code on your transponder to penetrate it. And a lot of people from outside, some strangers, they don't want to do that. So we have lost quite a few transient people coming in, especially like during the summertime. We would have a lot of, on the weekends, we'd probably have maybe 15 transient airplanes coming in and going to Washington, D.C. tourists and stuff. And we don't have that any longer and stuff. So, but since 9/11, general aviation really took a big hit, and but it's starting to come back. Yeah, we're seeing signs of it coming back.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Two, again, going and reading on some of the things on the website, you have, I think it's at 8 certified, trained pilot,
flight instructors. Yes.
That's great. So how does it work then? Somebody can just come in and say, I want a flight lesson, or I want it, like you said about the 14-year-old who knew that's what she wanted to do.
Right.
And do you all do like tours, or
well, we have a fairly large flight school.
Terrific.
And we do a lot of flight training, anywhere from the basic all the way up to the ATP, which is what you need to fly for the airlines.
That's wow.
So we offer all that, single engine through multi-engine. And about 3 years ago, we got this full motion flight simulator that we have. I mean, it is neat. I mean, you think you're in an airplane.
That's awesome.
It is a really a neat piece of equipment.
That'll be something we have to do at one of the upcoming chamber mixers, because I know you're one of the most popular mixers that we do when we do that usually in the summer or fall before it gets dark. But that sounds fantastic. That sounds great. And then there was one. I got to look at the list of some of my notes. It's the Skycatcher, which is a light sport airplane.
It's a light sport airplane. I can't remember, maybe 10 years ago, the FAA, I guess through like AOPA and EAA, a lot of these organizations, they said there's a lot of pilots out there that they want to fly. They don't want to be a commercial pilot. They just want to do it for pleasure. And I mean, and you can do it if you get your private and stuff. You can fly, but you need a FAA medical.
Okay.
And someone felt like, well, I can't pass the medical because of this or that. The FAA came up with this light sport. It's a two-seater. At the gross weight can only be 1,320 pounds. And the good thing about it, you do not need a medical. If you have a valid driver's license, you can fly the airplane, and you can take a passenger with you.
Oh, wow.
So it's a light sport license.
Okay.
And Cessna came out with the Skycatcher, and so we have that for people that know that they cannot get a medical, or they don't want to pursue a medical. So it's and it has stimulated aviation, general aviation, somewhat. And in the works now is still the same thing, but it goes up a little bit to the bigger airplanes where you will be able to medical yourself. You will have to take an online medical test.
Wow, okay.
But you could still, if you have a valid driver's license, you'll be able to fly like the Cessna 172s and Pipers and stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which I think will really stimulate general aviation again.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Can anybody fly?
Oh yeah, anybody can fly as long as you can read and speak the English language.
What do you find is the trickiest thing for somebody that's like, uh-oh, I wasn't sure? What do they find that's either a little bit trickier, and what do they find that's actually easier?
The easiest thing, of course, is when you're in the air flying the airplane. The second easiest is takeoff.
Okay.
The hardest is landing.
I was going to say,
you got to get to your, because you have to have your depth perception.
Right.
And
I never understand that flying anywhere, how the pilots know when is it time to start the certain moves, this descent, when they're about to get, and there's just so much space of runway. I don't understand. Can you talk a little about how that even works, or how do you even teach depth perception, in other words? You know, when you fly that VFR when you're in visual flight rules, where you can see everything, you can see the runway, and you just start. The instructor will take them, and you have a traffic pattern that you've got to be in, and it's actually like a rectangle. Okay.
So when you're on downwind, you should be at a certain altitude. Like at our airport, you should be anywhere from 800 to 1,000 feet, and then when you turn base leg, you should be descending lower. And then when you turn final is when you see everything. You see the runway and everything, and you have your airspeed, which you should be your airspeed should be a lot slower than when you're in cruise, and you can just you start. The instructor will tell you, okay, here you should be at so many feet on the altimeter, and so on and so forth as you're coming in.
As you're coming in, so that when the wheels hit, it's not a...
Yes, yeah. But once you get used to it, you don't even need to look at the altimeter. You can just, you know that you're at the right altitude, at so far out from the end of the runway and everything. It is. So you learn it. You really do.
We were talking earlier about some of the hazards that people don't even think of, you know, in addition to, of course, the weather and ice. We were talking about some of the animals. Are there any stories or just strange stories that you've had to deal with?
Yes, we have. We have had mainly deer, and every now and then a bird strike is really. But most times the bird strike is not close to the airport. It's actually flying close to the. Like to the bay and the tributaries where you might have some bird strikes, and which have only done a little bit of damage and to the airplanes. You know, not enough. The airplane can always make it back to the airport.
And the airplanes that you have there, they're ones that you've acquired, so to speak, or how do you get the airplanes? Are some of these? How does that even work?
The ones that the flight school owns. The flight school, we have 12 airplanes in the flight department and stuff. But then there's a lot of people, like if you owned an airplane and you need to base it with us, it's like mooring your boat. You moor your airplane, and there's what's called tie-down spots. Airplanes are tied down, a rope on each wing and one on the tail in tie-down spots.
Unbelievable. What do you think sets Freeway apart? And what, like going back to that, what sets Freeway and makes it such a unique airport around, you think?
I think we are getting back to customer service and getting back to being laid back. We're not, you know, when you come to everybody says, I love coming here because I can relax. It's not stuffy key, and it's not and all of our flight instructors, we do not let them wear epaulets, you know, the airline pilots do and stuff like that. That kind of puts a little bit more pressure on the student or the customer, I think. But when the instructor is dressed like the student, you know, relaxed atmosphere and stuff, it's better. And we have someone that we're not automated with the phone service. When someone calls, there's a human being that answers the phone.
That's the best, I know.
It is the best.
I can tell that is true. Whenever I call or need to talk to Stan or someone there, someone answers the phone.
Someone answers the phone. And I mean, I have had a lot of pressure from some of the younger.
Push one, push two.
Yeah. Well, you know, we need to be a little more, have some more free time with that. Let's get someone. I said, no way. As long as I'm here, someone is going to answer the phone.
That's wonderful.
So so we still have that.
That's great. A fun question I wanted to ask.
Yes.
What do you think also makes a good airport? Like, are there airports around that you're like, oh gosh, it's always frustrating to go? And are there good airports? And what makes a good or bad one to you?
I think the location makes a good airport, and we're in a very good location. The ones that probably bad airport, I shouldn't say. I don't think there's any bad airports. Yeah, I shouldn't say that.
I have to give a little plug to BWI. Does a good job for local and
they really do. And of course, they have a runway designated for general aviation at BWI Airport and everything. The airports, they're probably a bad airport would probably be one that's a short runway and it's in the middle of the trees and stuff. That would be bad.
That would be pretty bad. That'd be
pretty bad. Yes.
And Stan, just a couple last questions for you. Is there anything else you'd have wanted to do, or this is what you've kind of wanted to do, right? Is get into this industry? Is that?
Yeah, I've always like I said, I grew up with it, so it was what I knew and what I wanted to do, and I kind of wanted to maybe fly for the airlines, but then being a business owner took over and said, yes, something about that, and it's like just about any business owner. I mean, we're open 7 days a week, so we're there. I'm on call 7/24, and 2 or 3 of our other employees are on call. And,
that's great.
But it really is. I've enjoyed it. I still enjoy getting up in the morning and going to work.
That's what it's all about.
That
is what it's all about. And we're so glad you're still a member of the chamber. You've been a chamber member how many years now?
God, I don't know.
I know. It's great. Losing count. That's great.
Yes, it is.
Probably one of our original members.
Yeah, close to it.
That's terrific.
Yes.
That's terrific,
Yes.
Stan.
Yeah.
And anything I didn't ask you about that you'd like to say, either about your career or about the airport or about the employees, the customers, anything we didn't really get a chance to discuss?
Well, you know, I do. When you were saying bad airports and stuff, I do have a lot of customers that say, you know, I just love it here. I feel at home here.
That's great.
And you know, if you go to some other airports, and like when I do too, it's not the relaxed atmosphere.
It's not that personal touch.
It's not that personal touch. It's not that personal touch. No. And I try to, it's hard to know every one of my customers and stuff, but I truly try to meet them. And
that's the best. And when you get the return customers and then
yes,
families and generations
families
that come in, that's wonderful.
We do very little advertising. Most of ours is return customers, word of mouth, so it's good. And we also do. We're hooked up with the Catonsville Community College, so we do flight training for them.
Absolutely great. Yeah. Absolutely great, Stan.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, as always, viewers, for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Bowie Business Journal, and Happy New Year.